Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for making time on a Tuesday evening. I'm sure you had many other things going on. So, really appreciate you coming down. And thank you so much, sir, for giving us this time.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. We are part of same YPO Delhi chapter, but this is the first time I'm getting to meet you, which is unfortunate, but I'm glad that finally it's happening and I get to moderate this session. But before we get started, I know you wanted to share something.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for Junaid and team for inviting me to share some thoughts, share my experiences, share some ideas with all of you today. But I was just mentioning before we started that it's really unfortunate that in the last 10, 12 days, we have lost two of my batchmates in the last 11 days. One is Mr. Vikram Srivastav, Gullu, who many of you may have known. He was in Delhi and Kanpur and in the business world. And when I was president of DSOBS, at that time there was the earthquake in Bhuj, in Gujarat, which was, I think, 2001, I think it was. And Gullu turned around and said, look, every year I invite about 10, 12, 14 different artists to his factory area in Madhya Pradesh. And they spend a week there and do paintings. So I'd be happy to donate 50% of those paintings. So we can sell them, collect the funds, and on behalf of DSOBS, send it to Gujarat. And he did that. That was very considerate of him, very thoughtful of him. So that's one loss, which is very severe and very unfortunate. The second is a person who was in the Navy, Mr. Vijay Rajan. He was also my batch. And though he was based in Bombay and Pune, we didn't meet too much. But such a small world. I did my college in Bombay. I was in Sydenham College. And with another uncle of mine, he arranged for us to visit a submarine. He was in the Navy, Vijay. So we went into a submarine and we looked at each other and said, look, haven't we met before? And suddenly we realized that we were in the same batch, same year of Doon School. Such a small world. So Vijay also unfortunately was not well. So he passed away on the 5th and Gulu passed away on the 27th of last month. So I request everyone to just stand up for a minute.
All right. So while Ajayji doesn't need any introduction, but I have to tell a couple of things. So there are two people who are my colleagues at my workplace, both of who actually started their careers with you, Mr. Manoj Kohli, who's the chairman of my board, and Mr. Rajiv Gupta, who's one of the deans in the university that I work at, right? And so both of them, I called them up in the morning and I said, what are some of the stories that I can ask, which only you know about, So Manojji did tell me some things, but that is for after. But when you think of the pre-independence era large families, you think of Ambanis, Adanis, Birlas, Tatas, etc., right? But a very slow, consistent compounding was happening in the Shriram family, right? And it's incredible, the story, once you double click. I always thought it's a large family and must have been sort of just growth and growth and growth. But if you look deeply, there's lots of ups and downs, lots of stories of hostile takeovers, lots of stories of family separations, and then coming back up. And your story within all of this is so incredible because in 1990 and 1991, when I was born, I know the family separation happened. And from there, you literally took your part of the company from, less than 300 crores to today almost $2 billion, right? And while there's a story of a large family, there's also a story of a startup here that I could see. And then you have diversified. I know you started with fertilizers and chemicals and now into Fenesta, which is consumer, right? Completely different DNA. So I want to cover so many things, but I want to start, of course, with your time at Doon School, right? The two friends that you mentioned, any stories from these two or other friends that still stay fresh in your mind?
Oh, so many. I tell you, I'm sure all of you have experienced it. Being in school and spending time together where you are together 24/7, and you are in the same room. You are having meals together, you are studying together in the toy rooms together, sports together, etc., etc. I think that is where one thing which I've cherished throughout and which has also helped me even today is the issue of relationships. I think ultimately at the end of the day, that's key. You know, even in business or outside or family, anywhere, I think if you have good, warm relationships with the people who matter or who you're close to, who you're connected with, that's all that matters. So I think that is something which is very valuable to me from school. And I'm blessed that even today, our batch of 70 on a WhatsApp group and a daily group of 70 on a separate WhatsApp group, we meet really regularly. Many of us who are in Delhi, and at least 3-4 times a year we have dinner together and we have lunches. We were supposed to have one actually the day after Gulu passed away, over here. It was fixed up. A couple of friends who are members, and but we cancelled it, of course, because of Gulu. But I think that is something which was very valuable. I think second in school also, which is really nice, is the experience of participating in a variety of activities. You know, you're not restricted to, only pursuing one or two things. Sports be here. I was fond of photography. I did that also. The stage committee also. You know, you're to involve so many things. I was also, by the way, the vice president of the school basketball team. It was the Fat Boys team. And I was the vice president because the person who was the captain was bigger than me. So, that's how I was the vice captain of that team. But it was a great experience again, being together and playing together with friends. So I think the memories of school are very much there. And all these batchmates and friends whom we meet, they've been in all over, whether they've been in government service, they've been in private sector, they've been in army, navy, etc., all that. And you value a variety of experiences with people all over. So it's been a great time. I feel blessed that I got a chance to go to Doon School.
So I have a question I always like to ask Doscos, which is, what is the one learning behavior trait that you developed at school which has stayed with you till today and has been sort of the reason for your success? Right? What are some of the things you picked up?
I think I will say it's again relationships. I think that's really what matters to me. And our case, as you said, we are a family business. So whether it's with family members or it's with our officers or whether with people outside, I think how do you keep your connect in a transparent, open way that they respect each other and you value each other. I think that's what matters. And that's how I've kept it with Doon School friends also. I've kept it in work also.
And has the community then come back to support you in difficult times? Have your friends been there personally, professionally?
I would say not too much on the work front, to be honest, because we're different areas of work. Though, I must be honest, I'll take that back to a degree because two of my batchmates have been in the government of India. Three of them were actually secretaries in the government of India. And I have gone to them for help occasionally when there's some issue with the government. They've been so open. And one is Sumit Bose, you might have heard of him. He was Secretary of Finance. Ashish Bahuguna, who was Secretary of Agriculture. And one more is now in Chandigarh. So they were always available. And I think that is the bonding and sort of openness which you develop over years that you value. And it's been really nice. It's been really...
It's so unfortunate that we don't produce as many IAS now. There's no IAS from my batch I can call. Yeah. I think 5 batches above me and 5 batches below me.
Really?
Yeah, I can confidently say there's not been a single IAS.
Oh my God.
So when you were the chairperson of the school or on the board of the school, DSOBS, sorry. How, what kept bringing you back to school? It was the same relationships, or did you want to come and make a change in the way the school is run, school is?
DSOBS, I actually at that time, the view was for DSOBS as well as for IPSS. The thinking of the earlier people was, let's try to get someone who's not interested to take the job. So that there's no politics behind it, there's no personal agenda behind it. Their objective then will be what is best for the school. So I had the privilege of getting, I think it was 98 or 99, that I got into. I spent 6 years with the Doon School more actively, 2 years as a member of DSOBS, 2 years as vice president, 2 years as president. And then when you're president, you're invited to the IPSS governing body as an invitee. So when my term finished as the president, I think it was Kedu Bhargav at that time, who was the chairman. He invited me to come onto the board of governors as a member. So, and then you can be there 2 terms. So I was there 2 terms of 3 years each. So I was there for that period of time. But when I was president of DSOBS, there's a lot of buzz going around. Ki, let's try to do this, let's try to do that. I actually, frankly, now that you asked this question, I'm putting it. I said, look, DSOBS has two agendas. And let's try to focus and keep it at that. One, what can we do for the school? How can we help the school? Financially, guidance-wise, for the students, etc., what we can do. And secondly, what can we do for the old boys? How do we look at that part of it? Helping them wherever required. Frankly, in our batch, we've given financial aid to some of our batchmates who've had a difficult time, or any other connect or whatever is required. So we've tried at that time to work on these two agendas. And it was a pleasure to be at DSOB, especially when you have the AGM in school, etc., etc. It was great fun. It was great fun to connect up once again after so many years. So it was really nice.
Awesome. So, after school, after college, you joined DCM and you joined right at the bottom, right? And you joined along with Manoj Kohli. I think you were same batch, joined on the same day, right? So you could have joined at a managerial position at a higher level. You were part of the family. Was that a family discipline that everybody has to start from the bottom?
I think so. I think that, and actually we value that. To be honest with you, being a member of the family, one of the initial things which my seniors also told me, which I've told my family members, and my younger son Anand is sitting here. So he's also joined us today, which is nice. And he's also been through it, is that, frankly, because you're a family member, doesn't mean you know everything. There are many people more competent than you. You have to keep that in mind. And being a family member, you have the advantage of a faster track. You have an advantage of being able to, get onto areas of business which others can't do so fast. So in my case, I joined DCM in 1976, September. So it's almost 50 years now. And it started at the grassroots level. I was at the floor shop for 3 years. And I'll give an example again of learning. We had a breakdown. I was in the sugar factory, in Dorala Sugar Factory. You might have heard of Dorala Sugar Cubes and Doralas, all that sort of stuff. I was there for 6 years. I lived there. And we had a breakdown in the milling tandem of the sugar mill. The general manager, chief engineer, they're all around saying, what's the problem? How do you solve it? A worker. And I still remember Babu Tarsim Lal. He was a worker. We were standing near the mill. He came up to our general manager and engineer and said, sir, इसमें ये खराबी हुई है, यहाँ गड़बड़ हुआ है, मेरी समझ से अगर हम ये करें, 3 घंटे में फैक्ट्री चल जाएगी, मिल चल जाएगा, पूरी कैपेसिटी पे नहीं लेकिन चल जाएगा, उसके बाद हम रिपेयर करके 12 घंटे बाद पूरा करके तब पूरा रिपेयर करेंगे. So I'm saying a worker came up with an idea of how to sort the problem because he's got the experience of that floor shop. And he's been there for so many years to know what's right, what's wrong. So I think that was a great learning to me, that you can learn from all levels, not only seniors, it's from all levels altogether. So that's what the induction which happened for me at that time. And then in Dorala itself, I was given responsibility. First of my responsibilities was actually a distillery where we make rectified spirit. And we did have a plan to make what they called IMFL, Indian Made Foreign Liquor, Gin, Brandy, Whiskey, Rum. So it was actually called Dorala Distillery. My uncle, when I went there first time, I said, what? He says it's DD. I said, what does DD stand for? He said, Doomsday. So that's what he sort of pushed it across. But that was my responsibility. And again, I'll give you another example there of how relationships matter. I got very open with the union leader. Thakur Chandrika Singh was the union leader in Dorala. And we used to have tea together a couple of times a month. And he was very positive, collaborative, helpful. Once in the distillery, a worker, he loosened a valve of the pipe where rectified spirit, which is 98% spirit, flows through, and he took it in a mug. He diluted water, he was drinking it. So I rang up Thakur Chandrika Singh. I said, Thakur Sahab, ye theek nahi hai. From a discipline point of view, from a way of working point of view, it's not setting the right example in the company. And I would like to take whatever legal action is as per the rules. Initiate that. and I'd request you to please be open to whatever is the outcome. He told me, he said, Ajay ji, aap 2 घंटे रुक जाइए. He called me up 2 hours later and said, आपने जो कहा ठीक है, ये हुआ था, आप inquiry शुरू कर दीजिए. And we took a decision within that 7-8 days or whatever, and he was sacked. So I'm saying this is where the trust comes in. That you're not trying to short circuit for any personal agenda. You're doing it for the. We had a lot of problem with the excise authorities also, IMFL. You had to handle that. So it was a great learning being there. Then in 1982, I came to Delhi in Chemical Works and Manoj was there.
Okay, got it.
So Manoj was also in the HR section in DCM Chemical Works in Delhi when I came in there. So we were together for 4-5 years.
Got it.
And then I got after that transfer, and there we had a variety of businesses of caustic soda, power plant, Rath Vanaspati you may have heard of in the old days, it was there, and sulfuric acid, alum, SSP, fertilizers and all that. Then in 87, I was transferred to our textile business. And that gave the experience again of running a very different environment of the textile business. So in a way, I feel I was blessed that from 76 to 80, 14 years, I went through a variety of businesses, which gave me the experience of two things. One, different businesses. Secondly, working with different people. I think at the end of the day, it is relationships and it's your trust of people that matter. And that's what I learned a lot.
Got it. And so in 1990, you were mid-30s, which is when the very famous split happened. And the family was divided into 4 parts, right? And from whatever I could research, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that you got the short end of the stick, right? You got what was at that time called the struggling businesses. And you were also the youngest, I believe, in the 4, right? And clearly the underdog. And if you fast forward to today, you can see where all the 4 factions are, right? And we'll come to that later, but tell me, how was that split like? You were an underdog. Was that almost a benefit to being an underdog?
Well, I'll be honest, I think there's a God above. We generally believe that. That's really important in terms of support. But yes, we suddenly became a restructured group. And my father was based in Calcutta, whereas all the others were in Delhi. And my father told me and my younger brother, Vikram, he told us saying that I'm not getting involved in the business. I'm there to support you. You all do what you think appropriate and how you want to manage it. So that set us thinking straight away. One of my uncles, aap jiski baat kar rahe the, Mr. Arun Bharatram, he was very instrumental in the restructuring and we becoming independent. So first we asked him to come onto our board of directors. But I think one advantage we had was, you may have heard of a person called Mr. Mantosh Sondhi. Mr. Mantosh Sondhi was a government servant, but he was also running businesses and a very old relationship. He was on the board of erstwhile DCM. So we requested Mr. Mantosh Sondhi to become our chairman. So I think the big advantage we had was have a non-family member as a chairman. He brings in a different value system of how to manage. Mantosh, I still remember right at the beginning, said, Ki, Ajay, if it's okay with you, there's a chartered accountant in Bombay called Mr. Choksi. He's very good. He's on the board with me on other companies. If it's okay with you, can we get him onto our board and make him the chairman of the audit committee? We said, sure. I think Mantoshi, Mr. Choksi and others set the examples and the precedent of how to manage a board. So it was not a family thing where, a family member says something and it has to happen.
There was no emotion.
There was a lot of questioning. Mantoshji, Mr. Choksi, Arun Bhartamji also, a lot of others. And I think that was a great experience. We set the system of how we want to run the business, how the accountability comes in, how the responsibilities come in, how the audit committee rules, regulations, what is their role. And today, actually speaking, I tell the audit committee chairman, frankly speaking, now, Mantoshji's son, Vipin Sondhi, some of you may be knowing, Vipin is on our board, and Vipin is chairman of our audit committee, and I've told Vipin and others, I said, you're the chairman of the audit committee, you please be as tough as you like. Because if you're tough and the company does well, we as the largest shareholders are the biggest beneficiaries. So please be as tough as you like, and please probe and detail whatever you want. Please do that. So I think the precedence of how to manage, not as a family member, but as a professional, made a lot of difference right at the beginning. And that was really good.
But
And if you're talking about that, when you talk about the companies which were,
allocated.
we got in the textile business, Swatanta Bharat Mills, which was on Nazarkar Road. It had 7,000 workers, 13 unions, and they were losing 20 crores per year from 1980 to 1990. And suddenly we got into the hot seat on that. I had the advantage again from 87 being in textiles, so I was sitting there, so I knew it a little bit. So that's when we started working with the unions. And my brother and I, we used to have meetings with all union leaders at least twice a month to talk to them what's happening, because we're losing so much money. We just couldn't get that going. We told them we have to restructure the whole thing. So then with that concurrence, with the government concurrence, we moved to stop the entire weaving activity of the company. We had multiple VRS schemes which we brought about. An example to share, which is a learning for us even now, Grindlays Bank was the banker, and they had lent money to Swatanta Bharat Mills. And after the restructuring, they came to us and said, "You please pay back the money." We said, "Look, we don't have the money. We have the choice of either going to court, or we'll work out a plan of how we want to restructure the business, the factory, get it back on track, and you're welcome to come every quarter to see how the plan is moving. And in due course of time, we'll pay back." They did that. And we were blessed. A year and a half later, they came to us and said, "If you want money for your other businesses, we're happy to give it to you." So that is where that trust comes in, because of transparency, because of working. And the government was also very supportive. 1991, Dr. Manmohan Singh came in, where there was a major change in the entire business environment. That was lucky. And by God's grace, we moved. Right? You rightly said, when you mentioned our EBITDA at 1991 was 6 crores. Maximum we had 3 years ago, because we had commodity businesses. Maximum we had 3 years ago was about 1,800 crores. So it's jumped over a period of time, moves up and down, but God's grace moved well.
I'm glad you talk in terms of EBITDA. We talk in terms of revenue and gross margin.
Bottom line is important.
Bottom line
is important.
No, but I'll press you on that time a little bit more. There were 4 groups, right? And you said you had 6 crores of EBITDA. I have it that you had 360 crores of revenues in total, right? And today you're at almost 2 billion in revenue, 1.5 billion in revenue, depending on what dollar value you convert it. Now, you have grown tremendously. The other 3 groups, again, this is my preliminary research, at least those original factions are sub 1,000 crore market cap, right? Most of them, right? Sub 1,000 crore market cap, and your market cap is almost 20,000 crores or 17,000 crores, right? What did you do differently? You had the same DNA, you had the same sort of growth within the family, same education.
Well, I must be honest. I must give full compliments to Mr. Arun Bhattaram and his family. SRF, which they run, is doing exceedingly well, and they are also very progressive, very forward-looking, and very modern in terms of their technology, etc., etc.
And that split happened much later.
Happened later. We got in with these problems. शुरू में बहुत मुश्किल थी. I'll be honest with you. We were in a position where we had to close our fertilizer plant for 3 weeks because we didn't have money to buy naphtha, the raw material. We imported some equipment for our Kota factory. We couldn't pay the customs duty for almost a year. We didn't have money to pay the customs duty to release the equipment from this thing. So we went through all that. So we spent 5-6 years initially restructuring. And that's how we moved for reducing people. We moved for how do we sort of build a connect and get to know the people, because we were new. They didn't know us. So we used to go to Kota at least 2 to 3 times a month. And every time, 2-3 days, every time in the afternoon, we used to spend time with officers and just get a feedback from them. 1-to-1. Please teach us, please tell us what's happening, what can be done. So that's how we build that trust and the relationship. That worked well. I think that was really good. We also had an incident where in Kota, the number of people we had in the commercial department was just too high. So in one of our visits where we meet the departmental heads, We told him saying that, look, can you make a list of people who actually are not interested in working in the company? They come here to get the salary, but they're working in the share market, their interest is somewhere else. Believe me, within a month, they came back with a list of 150 people. So we said the departmental head with the HR head, please go together and sort out and find a VRS scheme for each of these people. And within a month, they came back for 140 people. But if I may say so myself, we took a human approach. One of the officers whom we asked to go, he said, sir, I'll have a problem because my son has got admission in IIT and I'm not going to pay the fees. So we said, you take the VRS now. We will pay his fees for the next 4 years. So the son's career doesn't get affected. And we did that. Another person said his mother is very unwell. We said, we'll pay her medical expenses. Don't worry. We did that. I think these are things where actually, in our view and in our vision, people are core to a company. I mean, our job as senior people, I tell our senior team also is, our job is to get the right person for the right job at the right time. That's what matters. And how do we get that commitment? And frankly, as an organization, you do a little extra help in terms of someone in need. It's nothing.
It goes a long way.
And it makes such a difference in trust. It makes a world of a difference. So we took many examples like this of how we work with our people. We secondly, as a policy, we did not get into a rat race. I told my brothers also, I told our senior people also that you get into a rat race, if you move faster, you're still a rat. What do we want for that for? Let's do it at our pace, which is comfortable, what we can manage. And the other point I mentioned, and this I think everyone in my company also knows, I said ki interest meter never stops ticking. No weekends, no holidays, no Republic Day, no Independence Day. It's ticking 24/7, 7 days a week. It's easy to borrow money. You have to give it back with interest. And that's where you have to be very careful borrowing money. So investments have to be measured. Investments have to be thought through. Yes, everything will not go well. That's part of business. But at least to make the attempt with the transparency of what you want. So I think we took a lot of decisions to grow. For instance, our caustic soda business. When we took it over, we had 100 tons a day capacity. Today, we are about 2,800 tons a day capacity. Second largest in the country. Urea is the same. We didn't invest any money because it's very government controlled, to be honest. Sugar has grown rapidly because I had experience. So we got into sugar at 97. We bought 96, I think. We bought a factory from a friend of ours. PVC similarly. Fenesta was a new business we came into because it's a value add to PVC. Now we've got into value add in our caustic soda business, in our chlorine business of epichlorohydrin, hydrogen peroxide, ECH, epoxy resins. We got into that chain. And because of our urea business, we had a strong base of a farmer connect through the marketing wing. So we asked about 20 years back, saying, why are we only selling urea? Why don't we sell 20 other things with the farmer needs? And so we called it Shriram Farm Solutions. Objective being, how do we find solutions to farmers to make more money? And today we sell a range of products, whether it's fertilizers as one head, crop protection chemicals as the other, and specialty fertilizers as the third, and seeds as the fourth. We have these. So touch wood, all are going well. Anand is working in SFS, and he's also heading one of the SBUs, our business, our manufacturing factory in Kota. So we've got into the agriculture side also very aggressively. And the advantage is, I think, with our way of working, each of the verticals is considered a profit center. And we want each one to be viable in its own way. They want funds, fair enough. That's the advantage of being a group. But you must make sure funds are used well.
Got it.
So we have a review mechanism and all that.
So I see three things. One is just the culture of the organization being very people first. Second, being fiscally conservative, not taking on too much debt. And third is, adding more to the value chain. So if you're doing X, can you do X plus 2? Not creating a new business altogether, but from the value chain. So I get that. How much do you end up working hands-on in the organization? And how much are you sort of working through CEOs? What is your philosophy on
Now we've changed. In the last 7, 8 years, I'll be honest with you, I'm not involved in day to day working. To my mind, where my role can be more value add to the group is on the corporate governance side, on the audit and the financial management side, on the people side, how to make sure we have the right people in all our in business, on the policy advocacy side. And I'm quite involved with a lot of business associations, and I'm chairing an IIM also. I'm chairing Shriram College of Commerce also. So that keeps me busy. I'm involved with all these activities. So that gives a great experience of meeting people outside. But I think what's most important to ensure that the businesses are doing satisfactorily and well is have a structured review mechanism of how they happen. And we have a fairly rigid structured review mechanism of monthly, quarterly reviews, MI systems, etc., which is looked at by corporate finance. They get into it. Our corporate HR is concerned with the people side of the organization. So we've got that structured quite well. So now I spend more time with our people, senior people more so. I've not done as much factory visits as I would like to, which I've been to do. But I think the requirement now is to really oversee what's happening. And we've got wonderful CEOs all over. And we've got the next gen in our family who've taken on responsibilities. So that's a great value add also, which happens.
When did that transition happen where you went from being very hands on to being a little bit hands off? What was the time when you felt that, okay, now the organization has to grow to that next level?
You know, frankly speaking, I think a lot of change happened during COVID. Because in 2000, early 2020, you know, you couldn't connect so much, you didn't go to the office so much, you know, the whole ball game of management changed. So you started doing it a lot virtually, that sort of a thing. And then we very regularly look at our delegations. We very regularly look at what is the authority given to our people. So with that also, I think maybe about 7, 8 years ago, one can say, one started pulling back a little bit and gave them the authority because our job is to get the right person for the right job at the right time. You know, so we focused on that.
Now, I'll say easier said than done, but I get the strategy. I want to talk about something that I feel bothers a lot of us here. How many of us work with our brothers or sisters or someone in the family? All right. How many of us work with the older generation, with our parents, or with the younger generation, our kids? Right? Basically, I think 80% of us, DOSCO families, are family businesses of some sort. And from whatever conversations I've had with my batchmates, my juniors, my sister's married to a DOSCO as well, even in their family, there is always some discord. Brothers, jealous of each other, this, that, so many issues. And for some reason, I see that a lot more in DOSCO families than other families. I don't know why. Something about being type A. So, what does it take to grow harmoniously? And what can we as younger DOSCOs do today so that we don't see the kind of ugly splits that we see in some of the families? And it's in very public, especially in DOSCO families, more than anything else. It's front page.
You know, when 1990, when the restructuring happened, my second brother, Vikram, and I got into the hot seat. I as MD and he as joint MD. And I think about 4, 5 years later, my third brother got into the hot seat. So then 3 brothers came into the thing. So it happened about 94, 95, because initially we spent a lot of time just trying to get our company in order. There was so much stress and tension and all that sort of stuff I was telling you about. It's very, very difficult. So when that happened, then we once had a retreat with the entire senior team. I mean, I'm a firm believer that teamwork is critical. That's very much in our culture, in our philosophy. So we had a retreat with a behavioral scientist in Agra, where we took about 11 or 12 of our ED, COO, senior level people, and we spent 4 days together, talking and sharing. And after that, we realized that's important for us brothers also to have a forum. And I would say the one word which comes to me, which is most crucial for family connect, is communication. I keep telling my brothers also, communication, communication, communication. That is key. I've gone to the extent I've told them, and we talk very openly. So with this behavioral scientist, I think maybe we are the only family, at least I know of, including because of YPO and all that involvement also, where in the last 25 years, three of us brothers have been to over 20 retreats with this behavioral scientist. And we go out into a hotel. We are having one actually from the 5th of May. We're going to Taj Hotel. And we're going to stay there for 3 nights. And this gentleman is the one who questions us on everything. I'll give you a couple of examples of questions he asked us, which we had to reply and share. Communication, I'm coming to that. He said, I wanted to list out 2 things about each other you like and 2 things you don't like. And please share that, which we did.
Sorry, it's just three of you and the
Just 3 of us.
and the guy. Yeah.
And the faculty.
Yeah.
So just 3 of us. Another list he then says, 2 of you go out and describe your third brother. So both of us, each of us went by rotation, went and made a list of 50 things about each other and share it. So in these, I told my brothers also, I said, look, we are all human. I will say something you don't like, you will say something I don't like. But if the intention is not wrong, it's okay. If there's any doubt on the intention, then it requires a much more in-depth study and analysis to figure out what to do, what not to do. So I think communication is something which is most important for families. Secondly, also at a family level, a family office level, we had a full agreement right in 91, 92, 93. What is going to be the monthly expenditure of each family? We didn't have any home at that time. So what is the sort of size of home each one can buy? How much will you get every month as your monthly requirements, which is coming from the common family fund? What are our rules for traveling? What are the rules for education, kids' education? We sort of articulated all that. Cars. Absolutely. So there was a full transparency of what it was done. So there's no sort of irritation in the mind. Okay, he's done this and I haven't done it, or they've done that extra. So that is the sort of thing we tried to move. Then it was in 2010-11. We got in again with another consultant to make a family constitution. And we did that. And this we made including with my mother. So she and all of us, we went to Goa and spent 3 days over there. And this gentleman helped us make a family constitution, which we've shared and we keep reading. Though now, because of the younger generation coming in, things have changed. Their thinking is very different from what ours was at that time. So we are in the discussion now to remake or revisit the family constitution, to get their thoughts and ideas also of how we want to look at the next 25 years of the family. How do we run that? So our objective is, again, transparency, communication, trust. That's the most important. If anyone has a particular issue, we are always there. And frankly, if I may say so myself, the eldest in this group has to give the most. They are the ones actually, who have to sort of set the example for all the others. And by God's grace, I think, each of us have got 2 kids each. In the family now, there are 4 male members and 1 girl who are in the family business. They're all there. We have the advantage again of having 5, 6 verticals in the company. Fenesta, Farm Solutions, sugar, etc., etc. We have seeds business. So each of the youngsters gets into a different vertical, so you're not stepping on each other's toes. That's an advantage we have. So we've tried to be objective. We've definitely been much more open than many other families. Even my cousin's family, they've been through a lot of stress and they've had their issues. So I think family management is an ongoing activity, getting someone from outside, getting a trusted person. The other thing also I'll add is getting a trusted person who, if anyone has an issue, they can go to. And that person can come in and talk to others. We have that also. So that has helped us in terms of how it moves.
This is like if you have so many stakeholders, there's bound to be a scenario where one stakeholder would feel that I do more, I achieve more, I contribute more than the rest. And hence I deserve more than everybody else. It's human to feel that way, I feel, right? So, how do you take care of these kinds of emotions in the family?
To be honest with you, Pratham, touchwood, by God's grace, that sort of feeling has not yet come up by anyone that I'm doing more, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. We all put it together saying, look, we are all contributing to the family. And the family means that not only our generation, but it's the next generation, and then the next generation. So how are we building a solid system and process and financial security for the family? How do we do that? So that's where we sort of touch wood, as I was saying, by God's grace. We've never had this argument, I've done more, I've done less. Each one has done their own thing, or what they think is suitable. To be honest, COVID made a difference in our communication. Prior to COVID, three of us brothers, we would have lunch together 4 times a week because we sat next to each other in office. But COVID made it all got dislocated because we weren't going to office, you had to work from home and all that. And even now it's carrying on, so we don't meet as often. But now, fortunately, what's happened is you have video calls. So that in a way sort of makes up. They're not the same. But we do have a lot of frequent video conversations with any issue comes up. We have a chat together to share and talk and get everyone's view. How do we go ahead? How do we move it? So that each one is in the loop. No one should feel that behind my back something has happened.
So if it's so equitable, right, that no matter the performance, it will be equal, then doesn't it take away from the meritocracy that you'd ideally like to build?
You know, we've not looked at it that way. We've looked at it this way that our responsibility is as trustees. We are trustees for all our stakeholders. How do we work for the betterment of everybody, including ourselves, and our next gen, and our family, and our employees, and our stakeholders, and our bankers, and our shareholders, everyone, our vendors, our customers, everybody. So we've sort of looked at it as a trustee, what is your role? Good ESG focus, corporate governance, policy advocacy, transparency. And secondly, we've all had a discussion in our family saying we are in the business for the long haul. We are not for the short haul. So all of us discuss, what is it now 10 years from today, what do we do, and 5 years from today, what do we do? We don't want short-term gains. We're looking at how to have a stable long-term business activity. So you're comfortable, you sleep well at night here. So
What do you see some of the other families around you getting wrong when it comes to constitution, when it comes to succession planning, estate management? What do people usually get wrong, other than, of course, not communicating enough?
I think, it depends a lot from individual to individual. Each one's personality, each one's character, each one's ambitions, each one's desire to grow has different levels. That happens. We've also seen many families, they've had disputes where they've not. I've been blessed, one of my batchmates again. He asked me to talk to 6 members of his family on how to sort of communicate and share and talk on that. So that's all one can do. I think if you get carried away, and the second thing also very openly I'm saying so is, one has to be careful of who's influencing you. That makes a lot of difference. It can be some other friend, it can be some other business person, it can be your spouse, it can be whoever. Children. How do you get the balance to look at the longer perspective? And especially at my age, when you come to this level, you look at life differently from what you are at the age of 40. Farak to hai. So each one looks at it their own, but I think it's our responsibility as seniors, elders, to set the example of what we would like our youngsters to do, how we want them to move, how we want them to behave, how we want them to collaborate, how we want them to be part of a larger joint family. And I'll be honest, we've seen that the strength of joint family is so strong. God forbid you have a health issue, you have something of that type, you have, ours, I would say maybe is among the few families where today 8-9 times a year, the entire Shriram family The Bharatran family, Charatran family, our family, 60, 70 of us meet. Diwali, Holi, Raksha Bandhan, Bhai Dooj, Dashera, we all meet and we spend time together. So the eldest in this entire thing is my mother, who's touchwood 95. And the youngest actually is my grandson. Anand is sitting here, his son who's just about 6 months old. He is the youngest. So this is the difference in the age gap between our entire Shriram family I'm talking about. And we all have a connect, we all meet. We actually, 6 members of the Shriram family, our brothers and cousins, 6 of us, Bharatran family, Charatran family, our family, 6 of us went for, they were supposed to be 8, but 2 of them couldn't go because they were not well. 8 of us had planned to go and we went for a holiday to Phuket together. It's so nice spending time together, having a drink in the evening, you have your cigar, you talk about all things under the sun. That's how family connect happens. And the strength, God forbid you have a problem, you know who you can contact. Yeah.
Awesome. This is very helpful for me personally as well. I also want to talk about government because all of your businesses are not heavily, but there's some relation to the government always, right? Good to have some IS as your batchmates, of course. But other than that, how do you think about maintaining that relationship, tiptoeing the line between both the sides? Because the states that you work in, I mean, the government is constantly changing. How have you kept a very strong relationship such that nothing very, nothing drastic has happened in the businesses?
I think our objective has always been to move within the policy guidelines. That's something which is very clear. We are, you're right, in 2 businesses where the government involvement is more. One is urea manufacturing business. And until about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, the biggest challenge in urea was that regardless of the cost of production, the selling price to the farmer, even today, it has not been changed for the last almost 15 years. The selling price to farmer today is still 300 rupees a bag of 50 kilos. And I was calculating these days because of this war and because of the energy shortage and the price. We sell urea to the farmer at $65 a ton. Imported urea comes in at $800 a ton. Our cost of production ranges between $300, $400 because of the energy price, and efficiencies vary plant to plant. So until 3-4 years ago, the outstandings to the urea industry, because the subsidy is paid through us, our cost of production may be 20,000 rupees or 18,000 rupees, but we sell it to the farmer at 6,000 rupees. So with that difference, they give us the money and we sell it at 6,000. We get that from the farmer. The outstanding at the end of March, until 4-5 years ago, was almost 35 to 40,000 crores to the urea industry and fertilizer industry. I'll put it all fertilizers, not only urea, all fertilizers. But hats off to the FM now, Mr. Nirmala Sitharaman and the government. For the last 4-5 years, they have paid us on the dot, and the outstandings on March end is what it is supposed to be, which is 2 months outstanding as per policy. So that has been a great help to us. But there still are issues. For instance, the fixed costs which are reimbursed, because they have what they call FICC, Fertilizer Industry Coordination Committee, FICC, who studies every element of cost of the manufacturer, because they reimburse us on that basis. They have not revised the fixed costs from 2002-3. 22 years, 23 years. That is something we are fighting with the government. So these are challenges which are there. But, that's what you have to do. That's why, frankly, we as a company, as a policy, have decided not to spend and invest any more money in urea business. It's so government controlled. We don't. Second is sugar. The sugar has moved well, but we've also got into now ethanol in a big way. We manufacture 6 lakh liters a day of ethanol, which is used for blending with petrol. We are now advising the government, and hopefully they'll agree to blend with diesel. I believe you can do it to 4-5% without any damage to the engine. And then how to use, modify the ethanol through another distillation process to make it more tenable to add with aviation fuel. get into that line also. Use ethanol now for even as cooking at home. How can you do? Because there's a tremendous gas shortage and all that sort of stuff. So we've got into that ethanol side over there. We've got into country liquor. And country liquor, I must be hats off to the UP government. Until Yogi Adityanath came in, the revenue of excise duty in UP on country liquor was about 12 to 13,000 crores a year. I think he came in what, 6-7 years back? Seven. Okay, almost 9 years back. Today, the projected revenue this year is 65,000 crores. So they are actually pushing liquor in the states because they get more money. But the transparency level has gone up dramatically. That's a good thing. We've got into CBG, which is also in sugar. We've got into potassium sulfate, which is also a fertilizer. We've tried to get into value-add things in this also. But yes, it is a challenge with government-controlled businesses.
So the reason I ask is that it happens that, in communities when I'm talking and I say that I'm from Doon School, they'll always ask me questions that, like this Dosco did this, all the wrong reasons, right? This happened, this fraud happened in this company. And I'm always like, that's just one case study. And they're like, no, this also happened. I'm always defending, of course, Doon School, right? Now, what makes us so susceptible to not painting within the lines? Or do you think that's the case or not the case?
I don't think so. I think that depends each individual. And there are certain places where I think culturally things are different. The background and history is very different. The requirements of the state government are very different. So as I say, I've been very deeply involved with CII. Right. I was deeply involved there. So whenever I used to talk to Indian industry here or people outside India, I used to say that when you look at an investment in India, don't say I'm investing in India. Please look at which state in India you're investing in. Because we have 29 states and 8 union territories. There are almost 40 economic policy issues which are all what they call concurrent subjects. Which means that the state is the last word. You might do whatever you want. The center might make a law, but the state is the final authority. So please decide which state you want to invest in. And look at that. And states vary. I mean, like for instance, I was born in Calcutta. I did my initial schooling in Calcutta. As unfortunate, industry in Calcutta has just gone down. All industrialists have moved out of there. And even today, no one is investing in Calcutta except 2-3 groups are there. No one is looking at investing. And people are losing out. If you look at South India, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra, Kerala, all these, industrialization is a lot more. To give an example, Sikkim, Goa, Delhi, per capita income is 5 lakhs plus. Bihar, it is in the region of 75-80,000. UP is about 110, 120. South Indian states and central states and Maharashtra, Gujarat included also, they're in the range 2.5 lakhs, 3 lakhs. So that's where actually because of industrialization, because of jobs, because of value-added businesses, people gain. That's where the focus has to come in. So I think India is a complex country. So it's not really one country, to be honest. It's like so many mini Indias within one India. But that's the advantage we have. We have a huge market. We have a huge potential. And competition actually helps. I mean, I'll give an example again. You're talking about this, Pratham. In 1990-91, when Dr. Manmohan Singh came in, import duties were dropped from 90% to 5%. You had to compete with the world. You had to really wake up again and see what you want to do different. And we all did it. And today we are competing with the world again. So it happens. I mean, that's when the pressure comes that you do it.
So 2 questions. Top 5 states that you would want to invest in, ranked, and top 5 prime ministers that you have worked alongside that you'd want to work with again.
Top 5 prime ministers is
Ranked.
a longer list, but
Starting from the first. Narasimha Rao, right?
I can't remember the top 5, but I'll put it this way. I think prime ministers is difficult because it depends on the entire the ministers and the bureaucracy. That makes a lot of difference. I mean,
So we can talk about the government also, that's fine.
So government, no, I'll be honest. I think in the last 10 years, the way Prime Minister Modi has pushed made a world of a difference. I mean, in terms of per capita income, in terms of ease of doing business, and ease of doing business as we keep pushing from CII, I'm quite involved in this activity. So we say there is ease of doing business, there's cost of doing business, and there's time of doing business. How do we look at all three and work on that? And you would have read recently, the Jan Vishwas Bill 2 has been approved by the cabinet, by the parliament, and that is actually decriminalized 717 different laws. And they did a Jan Vishwas 1 earlier. So they moved on that. So I think governments have moved very aggressively. Dr. Manmohan Singh has his own positive policies. He's an economist and a brilliant man. So he did a great job in terms of what he could do within the purview of his control. He did a great job over there also, which is really. In terms of states, I think we are very present in Rajasthan, and we think it's a great state to be in. Similarly, Gujarat, we are there. UP is also great, but UP, the industrialization is not as much. Agriculture activity is much higher, and agriculture very often actually gets very politically pushed. So there's a bit of a challenge over there which comes in. But they do well. South Indian states also are good.
Even Kerala.
Even Kerala are progressive. We have Fenesta businesses in many states. So they're very progressive, forward-looking. So I think you have to figure out where you... And today what we try to look at in our business also is we've drilled down to district-wise per capita income. District-wise, what is the sort of habits of that area? Agriculture kitna hai, industry kitna hai, services kitna hai? How do we want to share among that? So we can then figure out where do we want to be present and not everywhere. How to drill down.
We get the drift of the states that you mentioned. But I'd love to open it up to the audience for questions. I'm sure some ideas, thoughts. There we go.
So we've had a discussion on this in the family. We've actually told our next gen also very clearly, we are more than open to look at what to do next. But it must make business sense. It must have a business profile which is tenable, which makes sense. And there must be someone behind it who's got the passion to carry it through. You can't start it off and say after 1 year saying, Acha bhai, let someone else run it, I'll get into something else. That can't happen. You have to have that commitment to carry it through. But we are more than open to look at new activities or value-added activities more so. But it must be objectively looked at, not as a whim or not as a passion, not as a fancy, but there must be business objectivity. That is what we push.
My question is, do you, if you are in touch, sir, do you see that dynamic thought and vision in the boys and girls of today? And if not, how can we help them to have that kind of a thought so that they can also go out in the world and like, Pratham said, I don't see any IAS officers. So it's not just limited to empires, but IAS officers, but generally as leaders at large in the societies.
You're right. There's a tremendous change. And I think what's happened in the last 10, 15 years, I'd say, is that a lot of our youngsters, now they study abroad. They see what's happening in other parts of the world. Social media has a tremendous impact also on what the thinking is of the youngsters. But also at the same time, I think family businesses have their own influence on the youngsters. Like we, for instance, have grown up with when my great-grandfather used to come to Calcutta, we used to sit together at lunch and dinner and talk business. My father and them and all that. It was a very done thing at that time. Now it's not so much. Their exposure is very different today. Their ambitions are very different today. And that's where I think we have to give space to what they would like to do. Though in our family, we moved so far in my father's family, 3 brothers and our youngsters. The Anand is here, Aditya, my eldest son, who is also not here, we have a factory in Gujarat, he's gone there just now. But we've sort of worked on the principle that, like I spent 6 years at the sugar factory. Both Anand and Aditya, they both spent 2.5, 3 years each at Kota, at the factory, on the floor shop, with workers. So you get that little feel and that little grinding to get your hands dirty. That's what we've done. But youngsters today think very differently. I know my cousin, his son is into making cartoons. Now that's his passion. That's fine. They want to do that. So I think the parents have to adjust. So actually, my wife and I have discussed this point before when our kids went abroad. saying that, look, the biggest challenge is for us to change rather than them. Because they're going to come back after 4 years or 5 years with a different thinking, but we can't expect them to behave the same way they did 4 years ago. So we have to change our thinking on how we want to look at the kids today, rather than what they were 4 years back. But the thinking is changing a lot. Their priorities are changing a lot. Only thing, as the question you asked just now, is what we are also looking at in businesses. You want to invest money or take a business, there must be a business objective behind it. It can't be like a hobby. It can't be like a passion. Yeah, you got your own wealth, you want to spend it the way you want, your choice. But if you're talking of family money, there must be an objective and a clear way of how you're going to go about it. We've sort of pushed that.
So, you've obviously seen the last 3-4 decades of India's kind of metamorphosis in a sense. And, especially being in the manufacturing sector. So I was really curious that from an ease of doing business perspective, if you had to pick the one best thing that's happened and the one worst thing that's happened, what would that be?
I think the best I would say is the government is very open to bring change. I've had multiple meetings with Mr. Piyush Goyal. I've had multiple meetings with Secretary DPIIT, Secretary Commerce and others. They all want to do it. But the processes and systems are so complicated. I mean, there are about 65,000 laws in the country, center and state, because we've got studies done in CII. It's so difficult to change. They're wanting to do it. I'll give an example again. During my CII term, Mr. Nipinder Mishra, he was at the PMO, and we had gone to make a presentation on ease of doing business at that time. And we have a factory in Gujarat, chemical factory. And in the course of that, and I've known him because he was Secretary Fertilizers when I was the President of Fertilizer Association. So we used to meet a lot, I knew. So I said, Nipinderji, we already have a factory, chemical factory in an industrial complex, which is an approved industrial complex. We want to expand. Why do we have to take again approval, that environmental approval from all the villages around us, when we already have it in an approved industrial estate? He said, Ajayji, you're right. You please send me a letter, let me look at it. So CII sent many, including this. Within 2 months, he got it changed. So if you take up one or two things which people see right, they will change it. That is there. But there are too many to be addressed. And secondly, people vary. Reality is each individual, a lot of power comes also when you are sitting in the hot seat. Some want to give it up, some don't. So that's a challenge in its own way, which is a big challenge. So government is open, but it goes state to state, ministry to ministry. And at the end of the day, as I said, one of my roles and of senior people role now, all of our business heads, one of the prime requirements of them is policy advocacy. They have to, sell the concept of why we are in what we are, what we need and why it's good to make change. We don't want something personal for us only. It's for the industry. And we want jobs. We want higher incomes. We know if business grows, tax and revenue grows. A common man gains. The whole change happens everywhere. So one has to keep working on this. That's ongoing. And some states are better, some are less. Like Rajasthan, I'll be honest with you. It's a very open state. Much more transparent than many others. And it's good to work there. I mean, with the Chief Minister downward from Bharat Singh Shekhawat onwards, they've been very open, very helpful, very sort of collaborative and how to carry things forward. So I think it works state to state, it works center, ministry to ministry. But the government is keen to bring change. And I think from what I understand, the Prime Minister is pushing it very aggressively. But there are, I think, about 5 or 6 lakh bureaucrats in the country. To change that is not a joke. And the second was, I'll be honest with you, resistance to change. That's a very big challenge. In one meeting we had recently, one person from a company, I think it was one of the central states, they wanted to change their name from a private limited company to XYZ Private Limited to XYZ Limited. They had to take 32 approvals And one of them was the electricity bill you've paid, and they want the monthly electricity bill for the last 10 years. Oh, this lady who was talking about this in our meeting of ease of doing business, she said we went bonkers trying to get these are the bureaucratic changes which are very problematic.
Ajay, and I remember discussing this with you way back, you had a retail rural business, right? Which I thought was very innovative when it started. What was your learning from that? I know you closed it down. So what was your learning from that venture?
You're right, Samir, we had what we called at that time Haryali Kisan Bazaar. We started because of our connect in rural India. We thought that, look, we've got cane farmers, we've got through our Shriram Farm Solutions, through our Bioseed in Hyderabad. We have a long connect with rural India. So why not get into retailing in rural India? So we jumped in. In the course of, I think, 4 or 5 years, we set up 300 outlets in, I think, about 7, 8 states on this matter. But we started learning the nitty-gritty and complexity of doing it in rural India. 3, 4 things, Samir. One did not have electricity to run the billing system and computerized billing system in the shops. So we had to have generators. We were spending almost 10 crores a year on diesel to run these generators. Now, we never realized that earlier. Secondly, the ticket size of each purchase is very small. So that became a very big problem. Third was the freight and movement of goods and stocks was very expensive because getting into these places is very difficult. Fourth was getting good people where you can get the systems in place. And by the way, just for your information, Samir, ITC put up that Chopal stores. Yogi actually told me, he said, Ajay, we are copying you. And they put it up also. But they've also closed. But when we had Haryali running, Harvard Business School did a case study on our Haryali Kisan Bazaar. And people were here, they did a full study, etc. And they took it up as a management program, as one of their courses at Harvard. And our CEO went for that program over there. And they had the 2-hour discussion on this topic and detailed look at it. And the faculty, our CEO was telling us, he said at the end of that discussion, the professor there asked, okay, you've got this model, how many of you will invest in this business? Everyone raised their hand. But at the end of it, we had 300 stores. We had about 2,500 people employed. We just had to take a decision to close it down. It just didn't make, we were losing money hand over fist. And we couldn't see. And I would say, frankly, one more thing. It is our lack of depth of study to understand the rural business better. We jumped in without doing enough homework. So that's a management failure. We should have got into much more in depth, got some experts to understand. And we can't compare it with the, tier 2, tier 3 cities. You have to go into rural India. So the ball game is different. So I think there were many reasons. But I think, frankly, that was one thing where we took a decision and went to a board and said, look, we spent so much money. We've got this, but we feel it's better to close it down. And the board supported us. So that's part of it.
Pranav Goyal here. I'm from batch of 2020. So in this age of AI, whenever we ask someone as to what business to form, a lot of people say, oh, wipe code, create a software solution for God knows what use case, right? But you've had a manufacturing first business. What advice would you give to a young person in terms of what business to get into, which involves hard assets manufacturing in today's day and age?
If we look at India as a country, I think by God's grace, with 1.4 billion people population, with the aspirations and ambitions of people going the way they are, it's a solid market. But it's a competitive market. And I think the intelligence level of the customer has changed dramatically in the last 10 years. So one can get into any business virtually. You have to decide where you want to look at and what strength. But any business where you're competitive and you give a value add, you can get into that. Using AI, in our company, for example, it was, I think, in 95, 96, we took a view, we wanted to put a ERP package, implement a ERP package in our accounting systems and all that. We got a quote from SAP, from Oracle, and from Ramco. Oracle costs, SAP cost at that time was 8 crores. Oracle was 4, Ramco was 2 crores. So we went to the board saying we want to spend 8 crores on SAP. And they all asked, why not? You got so much cheaper. We said we want to go for a world-class system, which we can then manage for the next 25 years. And just as well. That has changed our entire way of working. And today we've got S4HANA, which is all over. All our businesses run on that. We've now moved on to this issue of AI. And digital and AI is something which is so functionally positive for the businesses, whether it's commodity, whether it's consumer based. Ultimately, the way we look at it is, we all get paid our salary in a business because the customer is willing to pay for our product. If the customer is not happy, you got no business. So how do we have a happier customer? I think that's crucial. And AI and digital to actually connect with the customer, we are doing it in Finesta. We are trying to connect up with each customer to give them and inform them that, okay, your window is coming, it's going to come to you in 3 days' time, it's going to come to you in 2 days' time, so that they know what's happening. One can use digital a lot. But today also on this digital field, I think there are so many software businesses also which are coming up, which are also adding a lot of value. But one has to have perseverance, patience, and deep pockets, because they take up a lot of money also. But if one has a good model, I think today in all businesses, the potential is huge. One of our businesses, a chemical business, I don't know whether you've heard, the World Economic Forum, WEF in Davos, they have what they call the lighthouse recognition. It's like the Japanese Kaizen system and things of that type. It's a recognition which is very tough to get. So entire complex there is going through where digital is a very important part. And we are using a lot of AI in a manufacturing process. For instance, our boilers are running. How do we ensure that the variation in the feed rate in the boilers is less, the variation is lower, so it's smoother working of the boiler, and that reduces the cost of production. So AI can be used anywhere today. And we are looking at seeing how we can use it more and more and more inside the factory, as well as with our vendors and with our customers all over. Potential is huge, and there's a lot of place to go.
Thank you very much. It was a fantastic
Thanks for
chat.
inviting me.
We've, I think my grandfather had an old association with you, Mr. S. Ratnam, and my dad.
Oh,
so
he was in the finance field.
He was.
In DCM Limited.
That's right. So Bara Hindu Rao, and I've been for all those as a kid.
My God.
Before Dune for all
I met
those.
him when I joined.
I know. So I had one question. I mean, while, the point you made, the anecdote on Nirmala Sitharaman and payment cycles improving, that's fantastic. That's what I'm hearing from my clients as well. But there isn't enough capex generation. Industry is getting constantly dissuaded. Whenever I make trips abroad, I'm only hearing gloomy stories about complexity, chaotic federalism, opaque regulations. And as somebody who looks at financial regulation very closely, my view is they tinker, but very often it's old wine in a new bottle. So between Mr. Goyal and Ms. Sitharaman, there isn't enough push to go in for bold reform. So I just want to know whether from a CII perspective and your intercession, you've been very positive today, so I'm intrigued to hear that. But what can we do to really get, the animal spirits going and industry coming back? Do you see it's a regulation deficit? Is it capacity constraint? I mean, the Bhadralok of the IAS have all gone. We don't have the Lavraj Kumars of the world anymore. You're dealing with a different ecosystem. So what is your advice to, even people like Anand and people like us who, we go and visit all these departments and come away writing note after note and not really getting the sort of results to make a change. So
It's a challenge. It's a challenge. I mean, One is at the center, and second is at the states. One has to tackle both actively and aggressively. And one is found in the state more so. I must be honest, if there's logical change which the industry wants, and if one goes from an industry perspective, not an individual factory perspective, industry body going to the chief minister and talking about something can help push it down. That I've seen makes a difference, if one can do that. At the center also, if one can, with the requisite people, some secretaries are very effective. But secretaries also, you come to think of it, you would have heard of Mr. Gupta, who was the coal secretary 10 years ago. Now, after 4 years, 5 years after he retired, he got a letter one morning saying that you've done this thing and FIR, this and that. Now, they're also hesitant to take a decision. They'll get caught up 5 years later, which is absurd. So how does one sort that out? It's a big challenge. It's not easy. It will take a little time. I think you have to figure out which state is easier, which ministry is easier, and where are they more keen to find a solution. It's a tough call. Yeah, capex. The capex level is a little lower now. It is, I think, it's also because of these rules, regulations, for one, which are affecting. Second, I think the world geopolitics is playing a very major role. That's also putting everyone to second thought. How do you put it in? These days more so, I mean, it's unusual because of the Iran and US-Israel issue. But it's a big challenge of how one wants to look at capex. We look at it this way, that we should do it in a measured way, where we are more sure of the returns, and not try to, be in a rat race, to be honest, as I mentioned earlier. So capex is coming down, and it's difficult. It's difficult because ultimately people have to take the responsibility for spending the money.
I was going through what you just said, that how the brothers sit together, they all have a budget. So me and my brother do the same thing. So I'm glad that finally works out. And hopefully I could be sitting on that chair 20, 30 years from now and go forward. But my question was mostly that how you said that you have the right CEOs in place and how you have the right people you choose to run your companies. What is that one characteristic that you, or the few characteristics that you actually look out for that to hire the right people? Like as a person who runs a family business, there is eventually we look down to like giving up responsibilities and taking the next step forward. But we made mistakes in the past. But like, so what is it that you look out for that is the right character?
For a CEO.
Or just in general, like if the
Yeah.
right team.
Yeah, leadership. Yeah, I agree. I think as you go further higher up in the organization, what's playing an important role now is EQ. I think EQ is very important because the sensitivity of people has changed a lot. So one has to be very clear that person has to be a team player. And you have to carry people. आजकल के ज़माने में डंडा चलाकर नहीं होता है. Especially what someone was asking the younger generation. Their thinking is so different now. So you have to convince them why you want to do it. So I think one is the teamwork. I mean, we believe strongly in teamwork, which is very crucial. Second, I'd put it is depending what is the culture you want to set in the organization. If I may, I'll just share our culture, what we have in our organization. It is I act on. I-A-C-T, act, O-N, on. What we push in our organization, which with the CEOs again is very important. They're the ones who have to push it down there. I is integrity. We think that's absolutely crucial from the point of view of the company philosophy, company value systems, and going forward. A is agility. How do we have that sense of agility, especially in CEOs? Because CEOs have the big challenge. They are in a little older generation, older mindset, and youngsters today want to bring in the digital change, etc. They have to accept it first. So agility is very important. C is customer centricity. How does one focus on customers? That's how we get paid. That's how our salary comes from. Do we have a happy customer or not? T is teamwork. That's absolutely crucial. That's our belief. Unless you have to, we actually, to the extent, I must be honest, we have a DCM Shriram Alumni Association. People who've left our company after restructuring, Every year, we invite 50, 70 of them to have a cup of coffee and meet them once again, just to keep that connect going. And they also know what's happening, we know what's happening, and if we need someone for some role, we can tap into them again. So that's teamwork. O is openness. How is our management open to new ideas, new suggestions, look at things differently? N is newness. How do we get new ideas and thoughts? How do we look at things out of the box? For instance, we send 2-3 people every year to Wharton for their senior management program, which is 4.5-week program. We have 2-3 people go every year. We have a large set of people. We've made different groups, about 30 people each, 3 sets. They go to NUS in Singapore for various programs. They go to ISB over here. They have a training. We believe that training is very important. We believe in exposing our people, and this is where senior people included, to go and see the best factories in the world. So we actually now, in our people, when we have a meeting, we say, look, are we world class or not? That has to be our ambition. How do we make ourselves world class? Otherwise, you can't compete in today's world. So the senior people are the ones who have to drive the change, drive the thinking, drive the values, drive the culture, drive the philosophy which you want. And I think, especially in a family company, interaction with the family and family sharing makes a lot of difference. I think in today's world, if you look at it, I would feel when I talk to my YPO, and I have a forum also in YPO, so I discuss with our forum members, our salaries are not at the top level. But I think a person must be happy with the work they're doing. The second, I think, is they must be respected. Just because you're family, as I mentioned earlier, doesn't mean you know it all. And many family members, use the danda, thinking that I'm the owner. It can't work in today's setup. Give that. Thirdly, how do we give them the credit when things go well? I'll give one example again. A batchmate of mine, Atul Kumar, he is Calcutta. His father used to run an air conditioning repair shop on Kid Street off Chaurangi in Calcutta. And I used to spend a lot of time there when I was young. His father told me once we were sitting, he said, Beta, if there's any issue, मैं 3-4 लोगों से बात करता हूँ to get ideas what to do. I decide what to do. But after that, that decision is mine. I have to take responsibility for that decision. I can't turn on tomorrow and say, he told me, that's why I did it. I've done it. And I think that's very wise. How to take responsibility. So a senior person has to take the responsibility. And we, as promoters or MDs, have to give them that value and respect them, so they feel happy working in the organization. We have a lot of events which are family linked. Diwali pe bhi, Holi pe bhi, Shriram Jayanti, Sir Shriram's birthday is 27th April. So around that we have an event where the whole family, the bacha kachas, they all come. We have these get-togethers. So I think that emotional connect makes a lot of difference.
Question is a bit of a risk. Since I don't know what you said, I've proposed to the headmaster that since the school is about to lose its legacy with the mountains, can we have a trip in summer this year or next year for 2 groups of 8 boys each, crossing the Arahoti Pass into Mansarovar, and that the 2 teams, one goes east along the Brahmaputra, they call the Yalung Sangpo, or west along the Indus, by the Satluj.
I'm not able to understand.
The purpose is to rekindle the legacy of the mountains with the school.
But just quickly sharing, shortly, I think in the next couple of weeks, you'll be hearing we are looking to start something called the Go Back to School Weekend, where old boys can actually go back to school, live in the boarding houses. We are trying to create a entire schedule over 3 days. So I think the key point being, I think
My key
joining.
point is to get the boys out of the school, back into the hills.
So I'm just answering on behalf of the old boys. In terms of the boys, I think from the DSOVS mandate point of view, we can purely advise school. What the boys do in school, it is an IPSS mandate. I'm happy to pass on the information and just support what you've said. But like I said, from a DSOBS mandate point of view, anybody in school is strictly the IPSS. Our job is to advise. We'll make the suggestion, and I'll be happy to do the same.
If I may just take a minute more, what I was trying to get at was the lost legacy with the mountains. And for that purpose, within the holiday period, so it won't interfere with term time, get these two groups of boys to start with, go out.
Is that old boys or boys in school?
Boys in the school with masters.
So that's what I said. I
idea
understand your
would be
point
that
on the legacy with the mountains. I will be more than happy to pass on the information and suggest the same to the headmaster.
We've had an interaction with the headmaster, and he very kindly had a good detailed look at it. Came back with a response that is too expensive.
So humbly speaking, like I said, in our case, at best, we can advise everything to do with boys in school is ultimately the decision of the headmaster and then the board. So I'm also happy to bring it up once more to him, but we have to go by, I mean, what they decide for boys in school.
It's just my last 5 seconds. And that is to say that if this happens, you establish a leadership role for the school.
I'm sorry?
If you're able to pull this off, we can create a leadership role with.
I fully appreciate the sentiment, and that's what I'm saying. The sentiment is very well understood. I will take it up definitely with the headmaster. I will reiterate kind of what you said to him. But I just want to be honest and honest with you. At the end of the day, the DSOBS's role in matters in school is purely advisory. It is the IPSS that governs school through the board and the HM. Your point is well taken. I am more than happy to share it again. But like I said, on the DSOBS side, just to keep that legacy fraternity together, this is the first time we are kind of making a public announcement. We've been working on this. We have a go ahead. We are giving it a finer shape, and we hope this coming winter we'll have this first go back to school weekend.
Thank you so much, sir, for this time. I really, really appreciate for the candor and the openness.
Give me a couple of minutes. Yeah, give me a couple of minutes now.
Yes, of course.
I've given you enough.
I think the
Give me a couple of
conversation,
minutes now, right?
conversation almost went for 90 minutes. So
Yeah, so-
really, really appreciate it.
So give me a couple of minutes.
Please go ahead, yeah.
Firstly, thank you, Mr. Shriram, for being so kind and so transparent. Honestly, I think it is a pleasure hearing all our seniors. It's great hearing about your life experiences, the wisdom, the guidance, the pitfalls. Thank you for that. The idea of DoscoTalks is exactly on these lines. We get to learn from the wisdom of our seniors. I think for the DSOBS, this is the kind of experience and knowledge share that we are trying to create. So thank you for helping us in that. Thank you everybody for attending. We have a small token of our appreciation for you. Akash, if I can please ask you to please give it to sir. We have something small for you as well, Pratham. Thank you. This is actually Mr. Shriram's book, so I hope you'll enjoy reading it. Table for 4. So, I wanted to mention this. There's a lovely book that's been written by, obviously, 3 past presidents of the DSOBS. 4 actually, Mr. Shriram, Mr. Deepak, Mr. Nurula, Mr. Munjal, and Mr. Nitan Kapoor. It's we've sent a few emailers out. I've seen my copy. I'm a foodie. Do have a look. Thank you very much for your time again. Thanks.